Welcome to Up Level, Real Health, Real Talk with Dr. Jenna Blasi. I'm Dr. Jenna. I spent years crafting ways to help women thrive, and I want to help you do the same. On this podcast, we dive deep into health at every level, focusing on the mind, the body, and the spirit. This is where real conversations meet transformational wellness. We'll be talking about all the things that truly matter, from nutrition and fitness to lifestyle, mindset, and personal development. Plus, the real deal on managing stress and navigating menopause. So if you're ready to elevate your health journey with authentic, transformative insights, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Up Level, Real Health, Real Talk. I'm Dr. Jenna Blasi, and today we're going to get into a topic that I have seen for years in my practice, and you have likely wondered about it yourself. Is my thyroid off? We are going to talk about thyroid health. If you have ever said things like, I'm exhausted no matter how much I sleep, I can't lose weight no matter what I do, my hair's thinning, my mood's all over the place, and I just don't feel like me anymore, you are not alone. And it might be your thyroid. So we're going to talk about the signs today, the testing, and why so many women are misdiagnosed or undiagnosed, and what you can do to take back control. I'm all about control, right? Up level is taking our health into our own hands, knowing how to advocate for ourselves, knowing the tools to improve our health, and finding the right guides, finding the right mentors and coaches to really transform and help us get to the next level. So looking at up leveling, what can we up level around this? Your energy, your clarity, your metabolism. Who doesn't want that, right? And it's just this tiny little gland, but it's got a really big job. So just breaking it down real quick, your thyroid is a small butterfly-shaped gland in your neck. And like the adrenal glands, don't let its size have you think it's less important, although you probably don't. It affects every cell in your body. And its job is to produce hormones that regulate your metabolism, your energy, your body temperature, your mood, your heart rate, digestion, even your skin and your hair. The two main hormones that it produces are T4 and T3. And T3 is the active one. That's the one that is getting things moving in the body. And so you could have plenty of T4, but if you're not converting it to T3, you're not getting the benefits, and you would likely still feel sluggish. And so the thing is the conversion from T4 to T3 can get sluggish if you're stressed, if you're inflamed, if you're nutrient deficient, or if you're dealing with underlying conditions. And the truth is, thyroid problems hit women harder, right? You may not know this, but more than 1 in 8 women will develop a thyroid disorder in her lifetime. And many of these women are never even properly diagnosed. How many of you have had the experience of you go into your doctor or your provider, you think it's likely your thyroid, you're suspicious it's your thyroid, and they tell you all your tests are normal. Everything's fine. So we're going to break that down. But also, it's not just about labs. The other issue is symptoms are often brushed off as normal for women. Think, oh, you're just getting older. Maybe it's just perimenopause. You're probably just stressed. Like women, it's still a patriarchal medical world. The research world is done more on men. The training is more about men's problems. Many times men's issues are taken more seriously. I think I said in one of my episodes, like when we look at, we're going to do an episode coming up on libido and sexual function. And it's really dismissed for a lot of women. But if men, when they're having their, testes shrivel up or they're not performing, we're working on that as in the medical community. So when we look at the types of responses you might get, it's just perimenopause, you're just getting older, you're probably just stressed, etc. Oh, you just had kids, it's normal that you're sleep deprived. These things can be true. And if we're going to go through the symptoms here in a moment, perimenopause, stress, aging, they play roles in this, but they're not always the whole story. And so it can get challenging to sift through, and it can be more than one thing that's going on. This is why, I always promote working with somebody that listens to you, takes you as a part of the team. What are your preferences? What are your thoughts? What's your intuition about it? But also has the skills and expertise to really help you move ahead and get a handle on the issue. So Hashimoto's thyroiditis is an autoimmune condition. It is the most common cause of hypothyroidism in the US, and it affects women up to 10 times more than men. Up to 10 times more than men. Now, I want to address this briefly. I think I mentioned this in the past. What I'm about to say is not based on science at all. It is just my hunch, my interpretation, if you will, of autoimmune conditions. So autoimmune conditions in general affect women more, and Hashimoto's thyroiditis is another autoimmune condition that affects women more, up to 10 times more than men. I am big on, if you've been listening to me for a while, you know this, on the mind, the body, the mind-body connection. And I believe we have health on all levels, or ideally, right? So when I'm working with people on health, I'm looking at the mental, emotional, the physical, the spiritual. What are their ultimate life goals? How are they living their lives? If we leave one of these large areas unchecked, I don't think that people can really have true health. Like, you could have great physical health, but if you're miserable mentally, is that really health, right? Or you could be super happy mentally and be in a ton of physical pain. Well, that's great that you're still happy. That's wonderful, but it'd be great to get you out of pain and give you energy as well. And so I see that women are really hard on themselves. We're perfectionists. We beat ourselves up. We try to be super everything. I'm the super mom. I'm the this, I'm that. If I look at my life, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a mom. I take my self-care, seriously. I run classes. Like, there's a lot of different, I'm a wife. I'm all of these things. But if I try to be the do it all myself, martyr, that can be a road to burnout and can be a road to disaster, if you will. And so when I look at autoimmune conditions, the self-talk that most of the women that I work with have is not good. We would not talk to our best friend or our children the way we talk to ourselves. You're not worth it. You're fat. You're ugly. I can't believe this. Oh, look at this cellulite. Look at this. Look at that. So I have a theory. Again, not science, right? I want to be clear when I'm presenting evidence-based information in terms of how we treat people and what I believe may also be a factor. And this is something I believe may also be a factor. When we look at the number of women with autoimmune conditions, if we're constantly beating ourselves up, if we're constantly having negative self-talk, autoimmunity is the body attacking itself. So if we're mentally attacking ourselves all day long, is it maybe not just a matter of time before physically our body starts attacking itself? So food for thought. If you have an autoimmune condition, how's your self-talk? And I have a whole episode on that. I'm not going to spend any more time on that. Another add-in to what's going on with the thyroid is hormonal shifts affect the thyroid. Pregnancy, postpartum, menopause, chronic stress, as I mentioned, gut health also affects the thyroid, and nutrient depletion, especially iron, selenium, iodine, and zinc. So we're going to break these down a little bit more, but you put all these together, or a few of these together, and we've got a perfect storm for the thyroid not working optimally and us not feeling well. And this is why it's so important that we pay attention to our symptoms. As I mentioned, thyroid symptoms can mimic a lot of other issues. Let's look at this list of low thyroid, hypothyroid, because that's more common. Hypo, underfunctioning. Low thyroid is more common than hyperthyroid. Fatigue, weight gain or inability to lose weight, cold intolerance, brain fog, hair thinning or hair loss. Now, that first part of the list, very common in menopause and perimenopause, with the exception of cold intolerance, where we're usually having hot flashes. Although I do see a lot of women, they have hot flashes and then they're freezing. So you can see where there's a crossover here. Constipation, low mood or anxiety, also common in perimenopause and menopause. Slow heart rate, dry skin, menstrual irregularities. And if your thyroid is overactive, which is hyperthyroidism, you may feel wired, anxious, sweaty, lose weight too fast, or have heart palpitations. And on the extremes of hypo and hyperthyroid, the symptoms can actually start to look similar. So for example, hyperthyroid, you'd think, oh, I can't go to sleep at night because I'm wired. Trouble sleeping can be hypo or hyperthyroid. Fatigue can be on either. We would think hyperthyroid, we're wired, we're full of energy, but it's a lot on the body. And so people with hyperthyroid can be low energy as well. So some of the symptoms can look, the insomnia, hypo or hyper, fatigue, hyper or hypo. And so some of the symptoms overlap. So if you're nodding along to like many of these symptoms, fatigue, weight gain, cold intolerance, can't lose weight, brain fog, constipation, etc., your thyroid is likely worth checking. But there's limitations with standard testing, as always. So here's where a lot of you fall through the cracks. Most doctors, for one, they only check your TSH, which is your thyroid stimulating hormone. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So a full thyroid panel would include your TSH, free T4, some say total is more accurate, your free T3, sometimes your reverse T3, and then the thyroid antibodies. Because you can have a normal TSH and you could have a low free T3, which might mean your body isn't getting enough active thyroid hormone. So even though your TSH is normal, you don't feel that great because you're not actually getting enough active thyroid. You could be, if your antibodies are high or positive, you could be in the early stages of Hashimoto's. I'm always wanting to look upstream and catch things before they're an issue. So even if all your other thyroid labs are quote unquote normal, if you have positive antibodies, you might be on a path to Hashimoto's. So you should advocate for the full picture, because with the full picture, like, information can be power. And then you can start to make choices, which hopefully you would make anyway, because a lot of the solutions that we talk about are just healthy lifestyle choices, but you have the right to ask for this picture. Now, what I would say, and this is, I think, why a lot of doctors maybe don't want to run, they'll say, well, you can't affect these numbers, but the other thing it's important to note is that thyroid hormone levels can fluctuate. So taking several readings, serial readings, if you will, over time is often necessary before making strong clinical decisions. The relationship between TSH, free T3, free T4, and your symptoms become clearer with monitoring over time, even over 1 or 2 years. And these numbers are different. For example, in pregnancy, the guidelines get more specific of where your TSH should be in pregnancy, for example. And total T4 is considered more reliable than free T4 during pregnancy. So ideally, you would be working with a obstetrician, gynecologist who understands where your numbers should be. But it's really important to stay on top of this in pregnancy, because miscarriages, the rate will increase if there's a thyroid issue. All of these pieces, in my opinion, lead to, how can I be empowered, right? This is where empowerment meets action. I'm big on empowerment and I'm big on action. Nothing changes without action. And this is, again, why I love mentorship, because our mentors push us and stretch us and get us to take action that we maybe wouldn't take on our own. And every day that goes by that we don't take action, it's harder to take action. So I want to give you information and I want you to take action on it and begin to take your health into your own hands. So if you're already working with a practitioner, ask them for a full thyroid panel. If your provider won't run it, maybe seek someone who will. A full thyroid panel helps ensure that you get an accurate diagnosis and a personalized treatment plan. Now, what you can do in your life and with this information is support the conversion and reduce inflammation. So, for example, nutrients matter. And our newsletter this upcoming month in May is on the thyroid. So if you're not already subscribed to us, get on our mailing list, because we go into things in the newsletter that I'm not going to talk about on today's podcast. So, for example, iodine and what to do with iodine testing and deficiency or excess. So it's a great newsletter on thyroid coming up. Nutrients matter: selenium, zinc, iron, ferritin. Your iron could be normal, but your ferritin could be really low. And I see this a lot, especially in Hashimoto's patients. You want your ferritin above 70. Now, if it's over 100, that's usually indicative of inflammation. So there's kind of a sweet spot, but we don't want it too low or you're likely not going to feel good. Iodine is important for the thyroid, but cautiously understanding excess versus deficiency, vitamin D, B12. So I'll look at that with patients and what are the nutrients that support. And when we're stressed, a lot of these nutrients get depleted. Gut health, also important. 20% of your T4 to T3 conversion, remember the inactive form to the active form, happens in your gut. The gut is so important for so many things. I've mentioned serotonin before. Up to 85 to 95% of your serotonin is produced in the gut. So if you're on an SSRI, an antidepressant, that's working with the serotonin in your brain. But what about also going to the source, the gut? The thyroid is similar. If your microbiome is off, so is your thyroid. And I have a whole other podcast on the gut-brain connection. There's a gut thyroid axis. And so looking at supporting your gut integrity, incorporating fermented foods, reducing processed food intake. There are certain supplements that are good for the gut. You want to remove triggers that are leading towards inflammation in the gut. There's a significant role here. And so leaky gut or intestinal hyperpermeability can contribute to autoimmune thyroid disorders such as Hashimoto's. So we want to address these through dietary changes and healing protocols. This can be pivotal in helping to manage thyroid conditions. Stress. I think stress comes up in every topic I talk about. Let's not underestimate the negative impact of stress on our life. And the reality is the outside will always show us things that we could be stressed about. It's how we choose to respond. Do we want to react or do we want to respond? Because the same event can happen to 5 people and we can see 5 different responses to that stress. And a lot of it goes back to how we think and the meaning that we attach to the events. And again, I won't go into this because this isn't a talk on mindset today, but if 2 people lose their job, for example, and one, they attach it to their self-worth and they feel like a failure and it means that the end of their life as they know it, they might get depressed. Where someone else might go, okay, there's an opportunity for something greater here. And they don't attach, or they attach a positive meaning to it that will greatly affect what their experience of that event is, for example. So looking at stress, chronic cortisol imbalance blunts the thyroid hormone activity, and your body thinks you're running from a tiger. So it's not trying to metabolize your fat. It's not trying to grow hair. It's not interested in your digestion. It's interested in saving your life. And then you get in that fight or flight mode, and that's not healthy for the gut. It's not healthy for a lot of our systems, but we're not going to digest when we're running from a bear. That's not what the body's trying to do. Food, another thing that we can control that has a great impact. So anti-inflammatory diets are key. If you actually have Hashimoto's, gluten sensitivity is often tied with Hashimoto's. Now, everybody these days is like, oh, go gluten-free, go gluten-free. There's a lot of, I think when I talked about the placebo and nocebo, there's a lot of belief around gluten these days, which is actually affecting how we're responding to it. But if you actually have Hashimoto's, try a trial elimination and watch your symptoms, because there is a link with actual autoimmune, thyroid, and gluten. And learning to find the foods that are working best for your body in an anti-inflammatory way. This is also tied in with vitamin deficiencies. If our gut is not functioning well, we're not absorbing the nutrients. You could have the healthiest diet in the world, but if you're not absorbing your nutrients, you will likely be deficient. And this is also where testing meets these things that we can control, like I mentioned, vitamin D. It's crucial to address any of these vitamin deficiencies, especially vitamin D. So let's test. Have your practitioner test your vitamin D, because adequate vitamin D levels are really important, and they're associated with better thyroid function, and they can help reduce the risk of developing hypothyroidism. So those are the specifics, and they tie into lifestyle. So you have nutrition, gut, managing your stress, the food you eat. I would also add to these things that I've talked about a lot in the past. Prioritizing sleep and your circadian rhythm. Sleep helps all the organs of the body function better, and the thyroid is no exception. Strength training for a variety of reasons. Exercise actually improves the peripheral conversion of T4 to T3, and maintaining a healthy weight. Strength training helps us do this. Maintaining a healthy weight in and of itself Through balanced nutrition, through exercise, that can positively impact your thyroid health. I would also say we want to reduce the endocrine disruptors in our life: plastics, BPAs, pesticides, artificial fragrances. These endocrine disruptors, they're having an effect in our body. And so reducing exposure to these substances by choosing cleaner personal care products, for example, cleaner foods, can support thyroid function. Now, this is, within the research, there's some controversy, probably. For me, this is where, even if, remember too, with research, there's evidence of absence and absence of evidence. And so absence of evidence is we just don't know. We don't have the studies. We don't have the evidence. Evidence of absence is, for me, where a lot of myth busting comes in, because we've actually studied it, if it's studied the right way, and we've found that what we think about it isn't true. And so I've had to step off of my soapbox with a number of things where I was like, no, this is great for this, or this is really important. And then we actually have a lot of evidence telling us the contrary. Soy is a good example of this. Soy is a good example of this. It has been demonized by my profession and by, from what I've seen, chiropractors, functional medicine docs, naturopathic doctors, everybody's demonizing soy. The research does not support it. We have so much research on the benefits of soy, and it's not causing the issues that everybody claims that it is. Now, that doesn't mean that you as an individual, you might be thinking in your mind, well, I have a terrible reaction to soy. Let's not make our personal experience the blanket statement. If you're sensitive to soy, then that's you as an individual, and that's fine. But it might also be once you repair the gut, you're not sensitive anymore. Okay, so this is where, even if, like, sometimes there's not evidence for stuff, then I might go, okay, we don't have great evidence for this. Like, I don't have any evidence that autoimmunity is linked with negative self-talk, but I know the detriments of negative self-talk, so I'm going to focus on positive self-talk. So I want to talk about the cruciferous vegetables, because I know there's also a belief that if you have a thyroid issue, you can't have the cruciferous vegetables, you can't have kale and broccoli and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts. For the most part, this is actually not true. Okay, you would have to eat 1 to 2 pounds raw for it to have a negative effect on your thyroid. So if you're having like raw kale smoothies every day, like 2 pounds or 1 pound, yes, maybe. Cabbage, you're just doing like juicing of cabbage, perhaps. But in general, these foods are healthy, and when we cook them, the issue goes away. So if you're thinking, well, oh gosh, there's conflicting evidence, because when I look at a Mediterranean diet or a healthy diet, there's all these cruciferous vegetables and people are eating broccoli and cauliflower, and I can't eat these because I have a thyroid issue. Eat them cooked, and the fiber, there's so many benefits to these, and it has not been shown to adversely affect the thyroid, especially when cooked. And again, in raw, we would need massive amounts. Another thing we can do is potentially use adaptogens, ashwagandha, rhodiola, again, with guidance, finding the ones that's right for you, supporting what your actual symptoms are. So please remember that supporting your thyroid health is not just about taking a pill, whether it's a medication or a supplement. It involves a holistic approach that includes proper nutrition, stress management, addressing any underlying health issues. And this for me is across the board in my practice. I don't want people to just have to, even in the natural world, oh, you have migraines, take this supplement for that. I have kind of a 5 supplement rule long term. If someone's on more than 5 things, maybe something deeper hasn't been addressed. So always doing a holistic approach. And so I believe in focusing on these foundational aspects of health before considering medication or extensive supplementation. Now, I'm sure the question of when do I take meds has come up for some of you. So if you're experiencing symptoms like fatigue and you have slightly elevated TSH levels, it doesn't necessarily mean you need medication right away. And many factors, as we've discussed, can influence thyroid function. So often addressing these underlying factors through lifestyle changes can lead to improvements. So if you're working with a healthcare provider on thyroid health, they may recommend, like, let's monitor for a while. Let's do, what we call watchful waiting and lifestyle interventions before considering medication. Now, in the conventional system, that may not be the approach because they don't have the tools or the training to take you through these lifestyle interventions. But this approach allows for a more comprehensive understanding of your thyroid function over time in the context of your overall health. And I had a patient years ago. She had gone to a nurse practitioner. I think her TSH was 4.5. And the nurse practitioner wanted to put her on Synthroid or levothyroxine. And she had gotten referred to me or had heard of me. And so she came in and she wasn't releasing weight. She was tired, but she was also stressed. She was overworked. And so we addressed all of these pieces. I did give her some adrenal support, and we addressed these lifestyle pieces. She came back, retested. So she came back, she'd released weight, she was sleeping, her energy was better. She really implemented. Remember, we need to take action because she could have taken what I said and done nothing with it. And then she would have been in the same place, but she actually worked on the stress. She actually made shifts in her lifestyle and in her diet, etc. And she came back and she released weight. She felt better. Her energy was up. And then her labs were actually normal and they stayed normal. We checked back in. I think it was maybe a year or more later. The thyroid issue didn't come up again. So I do want to briefly discuss, and I don't want to try to keep honor my time commitment here. Some of you might be wondering about what we call subclinical hypothyroidism. And so if you're looking at like, should I be treated with medication? The answer is not straightforward. Current guidelines actually recommend against treating subclinical hypothyroidism with thyroid hormone medication for most people. And this is because treatment doesn't always improve outcomes and it can come with some risks. And I remember when I was looking at these studies, I was so surprised because I thought you're tired, it's your thyroid, go on thyroid medication, these people are going to feel better. And most of them, it didn't affect their energy. So it's a tricky condition. Subclinical hypothyroidism is when your TSH is slightly elevated, but your thyroid hormones are still normal. So it's like your body is in a pre-hypothyroid state and it hasn't fully developed an underactive thyroid yet. And so what we've found is that many people with subclinical hypothyroidism never progress to full hypothyroidism. And this makes the treatment challenging for doctors because you can't rely on lab work alone. And this is why it comes back to you as an individual. We need to look at your overall health, your risk factors, your personal goals, all of these pieces. And for example, like if you have subclinical hypothyroidism, but you have heart failure or fertility issues or migraines, then maybe we do consider a low dose of thyroid hormone. So take these tools, empower yourself, do what you can of the things you can do. But also I really encourage you, like get an amazing practitioner who you're just so trusting of to be on your team and really look at you as a whole person. Because if you are tired of feeling tired, trust yourself. Trust yourself. You're not lazy. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You're likely like physiologically out of balance and your body is trying to talk to you. And this is not about energy drinks or another cleanse. It's about healing at the root. And the thyroid is one of the most powerful places to begin. And there's a lot of crazy cleanses out there. Let me just say that. And I see so many people, they starve their bodies and they actually do more damage. The thyroid gets a little even more sluggish after some of these extreme cleanses or the adrenals. And then if you're like not releasing weight and your doctor is telling you you're normal and you can't lose weight. And so you start decreasing. And I see this with perimenopausal women all the time, decreasing your calories more and decreasing them more and decreasing them more. You're actually just slowing your metabolism down. You're slowing your metabolism down. So it's a complex topic. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And so work with those qualified healthcare professionals who can provide that personalized advice and help you get to where you want to go, which is feeling good in your body, right? Having energy, clear brain, lose weight, feel good in your clothes, feel sexy and badass. All right. So, the right people, the right person can help you interpret your lab results, guide you on the appropriate dietary changes for you, and advise you on any supplements or herbs that might be beneficial for you. Every case is unique. And so I believe in working with you as an individual. All right, wrapping it up. If this episode resonated, please share it with a friend. Share it with someone that's been feeling off and maybe they don't know why, because we never know. You never know whose life this could change. So many women, as I said, are undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. This is life-changing. If you want to dive deeper into root cause healing, or you've been struggling with symptoms like these, keep listening to this podcast. Hang out with us on Instagram. Reach out through our messaging. And I'd love to support you in any way I can, because your energy, your clarity, your joy, it's not gone. It's just a little buried. It's like a room that's dusty. We got to clear off the muck, get the cobwebs out of the way. And as I often say, when you have your energy, when you have your clarity, when you have your joy, you light up, you live your purpose, your health allows you to live the way you want to live, and you bring more light to the world. And that is why I do what I do, because every one of us that gets our health back, gets our joy back, we go out and we make the world a better place. So let's keep up leveling one insight at a time. So thankful for you joining me here today. Check out our newsletter. Reach out if you have any questions or follow up or share your wins. And remember, you've got this. Get a great team. Make a decision that you want to live your best life. And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uplevel, Real Health, Real Talk. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take the next step in your health journey. One that nourishes not just your body, but your mind and spirit as well. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's episode, please leave a review. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep thriving. And remember, true wellness is a journey, and you are on the right path.